Hi everybody, this is Chloe with World Peace Projects. Thank you for joining me. So I have been waiting to tell you a story, but I couldn't do it until now. And this story I'm going to tell you for all of those who are participating in my psychic self-defense course on Saturday. You're going to rehear this story. This is what I wanted to tell you guys. So, and if you'd like to participate on that class, I'll leave the link below. It's pretty fabulous. We have a wonderful group. Okay, so I'm traveling around a bit in Canada again, in BC. And last week, it's been officially, I think, a week now, I left the area in BC I was, and then I hopped over to the island. And the Airbnb I booked, there was a lack of transparency in my perspective of the roommate situation. So before I left, I just inquired to find out, is there actually, am I gonna have a roommate? They were kind of vague around it. So I find out that this place I've already prepaid for a month is basically student housing. And there's like 5 roommates, so I'm a little bit concerned. And so anyhow, he tells me it's an all-girls space, you know, every girl there is from a different country. So I'm like, well, what a fabulous opportunity to meet new personalities, different cultures. It's only a month. Okay, can't get my money back anyway at this point, so let's do it. Okay, so as soon as I get there, there's already a little bit of concern around the time I'm showing up. Apparently they weren't ready. So for me, it's like, no worries, I'll go fart around and show up when I can. So I get to the space, and one of the girls who answers the door, there's already like this look of like, it's you. I'm like, oh, great. Okay, so whatever. Move in my stuff, you know, things are fine. Meet a couple of the girls. Sleep. Next day, I wake up and I have my work schedule, right? And I work remote, so I'm in session talking on the phone. It's 11 a.m., normal voice. Done with session, get a text from the landlord that says, can you please keep your voice down? One of the girls is trying to study. And I'm like, well, this isn't gonna work because I have to work and I'm not gonna whisper. I'm talking at normal tone. It's 11 a.m., right? So he finds a creative solution in another house he owns, puts me in an office there. Great, no problem. So that evening, mind you, I haven't even been here 24 hours. That evening, I'm talking to one of the girls, and we're having a really great conversation about, she's inquiring about what I do. And she would term herself agnostic, and she's very curious. She's a millennial, really open to new ideas, interested in she's studying brain processes. So she's asking me all these questions and really diving in and getting into depths of some of my belief systems and perspectives and all the things we talk about on this channel. And while we're talking, one of the other girls is in the kitchen, and I guess she's overhearing us. And then and it's late, so that it's a little bit dark. We've only got the light of the TV in this room, but I like that, right? So anyway, she comes zooming in and she says, what are you guys talking about? And I'm like, oh, we're talking about my belief systems. And, you know, she's asking questions. And then the girl looks at the one I'm talking to, who, when I moved in, was out of town. But the girl I'm talking to and the one that's come in the room now have rooms next to each other. And so the girl comes in and she says, when you moved in, the first night you moved in, I had a dream that you, the other girl, was sleeping you were sleeping in your bed, and a giant roach came and jumped on top of you and started eating off of you. And I could hear you crying. And then the Holy Spirit told me, wake up and lock your door. And I said in my dream, I'm too tired, I don't want to. Holy Spirit said, wake up and lock your door. So she wakes herself up out of her dream. Her door is already locked. And then she says to me, she goes, but I realized Holy Spirit was telling me to lock the door of my heart. So I'm like, whoa, okay. This is interesting. Then she's having this dream. We haven't even met yet, right? So I'm aware I'm being psychically attacked at this point, right? So I just let them keep talking. This girl, she's young, she's a millennial, And I listened to, you know, she gets really into her convictions of her beliefs and starts telling the other girl her beliefs. And so she's Pentecostal. She's also South African. She's Afrikaners. So if anybody knows the culture, that just speaks to that type of devotion and I'm going to say stringentness to, you know. So, and I'm actually pretty impressed with some of their belief systems, because she's talking about, from their angle, they also believe in what we would term the matrix. You know, she's talking about how they teach about how there's demonic energies that were like the bird beings that can take over other humans. And she gets into all of these things. And I'm intrigued that they teach this type of understandings, which we would look at in a, like, as metaphysics, but from that perspective, right? When she starts like talking about her dream, she flips on all the lights, and she does this in this way that it's like, I'm purging the demons, you know, turning on all the lights super bright, coming in the space, and then giving her convictions. And then she says to the other girl, while she's talking about her beliefs, she says, we believe that God gives each person 3 chances to be saved. One comes in the form of miracle. One comes in the form of, can come in like dream. And one comes in the form of human, like we're doing now. And I'm like, oh, you know, thinking, she's giving you an opportunity here to be saved, you know, to the other girl. So anyway, I get up and dismiss myself. And I am amused and irritated, because I'm very acutely aware that the beings that she speaks to, which she also said she speaks to the Holy Spirit all day, every day. You know, she can see the matrix when she looks outside. She can't wait to leave this space. She wouldn't dare tune in to the psychic realm, you know, but she has a nonstop, constant dialogue with what she perceives as the Holy Spirit. So I'm very aware that the entity that is communicating with her is extremely threatened. Okay. Now, another thing that's really intriguing about this is that dream, because she hadn't met me yet, was a precognition into a, like alluding to a symbolic situation that's going to happen, which is this conversation I'm having, right? So anyway, I dismiss myself. The next day, I'm very aware I've been disrespected. So I'm like, okay, next time I see this girl, I'm going to let her know, you know, that was disrespectful. Obviously, we're roommates. You don't want to make an awkward situation if we got to live together. You know, just clarify some things, all right? So I don't see her that day. I don't see her in the evening. And then the next day, I'm having session. And I'm having session with one of my friends, and in the timeline that we're clearing, Moloch comes up to be cleared. So we're doing kind of demonic purging in the session. Well, as I'm talking, I'm hearing somebody above me, in this girl's room's above me, right? Jumping. They're like jumping on the floor, jumping. I'm like, oh, maybe somebody's working out, right? And they're jumping, and it's happening right at the moments that we're getting into the demonic purging of the session. Jumping. So, but I'm in session. I'm not really thinking much of it, right? So I let that go on about my day, right? And then it was either that night or the next evening, still haven't seen this girl. I'm talking on the phone. I'm having a regular conversation. It's starting to become the hours of wind down time, but it's not quite there, you know. And as I'm talking, I miss a WhatsApp call, and I'm like, oh, I don't recognize this number. And then I get a knock on the door finally. I'm like, oh, that's strange. So I get up, and it's this girl, and she's very upset, and she's like, you're being really loud. You're having a conversation on speaker. And I'm trying to, you know, it's time to go to bed. I gotta wake up, blah, blah, whatever. Gotta wake up early. And I'm like, oh, I wanted to talk to you. You know, and I say, I feel that your conversation was disrespectful. And, you know, I don't think that that's the type of energy that we're going to want in this household. And she's like, basically, she goes, well, if you perceived it that way, that was probably the way it was meant to be. And I was like, okay, very interesting. So anyway, I shut the door, and I realized after we talked that she had reached out to, in every possible way, to anybody else in the household, including the landlord, and including calling me before she came down to talk. So she made 4 to 5 different strategic moves to voice a complaint in an irate way to everybody in the environment. So now I'm very intrigued by this, because I'm aware that Jehovah is a repressor. It's a God of repression, right? And the intriguing threat that I apparently bring to this entity, not only because I'm bringing in spiritual demonic purging and clearing energy into the house, right? But the message that her entity or being gave her to lock her door to her heart speaks volumes to me about it feeling threatened, that maybe my views may possibly have the ability to shift her perspective. Because if that entity or being loses hold of its control of her, then it doesn't have the same way to feed. I also thought it very ironic that the imagery of the dream she was given, which obviously alluded to me being a cockroach, was, of course, one, the entity basically trying to take a jab at me. But perplexingly, intriguingly enough, it was also, as from my perspective, of course, she perceives the opposite, which is the issue, right? But that her communication to this other girl could possibly open up the girl to attack, which would then allow those entities to feed on that girl's loosh. Now, I know the girl's fine. I checked the space. I did plenty of energy clearing. But anyway, so I'm like, hey, landlord, this ain't gonna work. Need my money back. Being disrespected all over a dream. Really weird. I'm out. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna move out in a few days. And I've been here 3 days, mind you. Okay. So anyway, and I do a whole clearing because I know what's going on. I'm like talking to the entity, like, you're not welcome in my space. Stay out of my way. Don't threaten me, blah, blah, blah. I'm not scared of you. All those things, right? So the next day, and let me preempt what I'm about to say with, years ago, I cleared the, what we call telephoning. So when you have false thoughts that are imposed into your mind, and I've talked about this plenty, and especially if you channel and you hear communication, right? A lot of that, even if it's not entity, can be projected into your mind. It's called telephony. It's false telepathy, okay? So at one point, real faint in the day or the evening or whatever, I hear die. And I'm like, you don't scare me. You better get out of my space. Like, it was so intriguing, right? And then, so anyway, I get out of this house, but of course, this happens also right in alignment as that Saturday, I'm launching the Psychic Self-Defense course, right? So the timing is pretty impeccable. And I'm there for the next few days. And this girl she thinks that she's upset from my noise level. But the entity in her is impulsing her because it can't handle that spiritual warfare is happening, because our rooms I was below her room, right underneath it, right? Because that affects all negative energy around. It not only works to purge the specific entity or demon or being that I'm focused on, but it's going to start clearing the space of negativity and darkness, what have you. So it's having her jump around and going right and all these things, and in her mind it's my voice level, right, which is normal. I'm talking like this in my room at 11 a.m. There's nothing loud about this, right? So anyway, the next few days I basically am like, I'm just not even gonna acknowledge this person. I mean, I'm over it and I'm leaving, and this soul doesn't even deserve, has not earned even my eye contact, basically. So that's what I do. I basically tell the landlord, like, you probably should have a conversation with her. I don't think that this is the type of message that you're wanting to convey, right? And I'm not even in my own being going to give her the time of day or communicate with her. And I can just see her crawling under her skin. I can see it crawling under her skin. And anyway, I leave the space, get to this wonderful, fabulous new place, very happy, and I just think it is the most amusing experience. And I think the main thing that I want to share, the moral to the story here, is look how uncomfortable my staunch truth and being anchored into spirit, this is how I perceive it, and purging negativity and working diligently to clear out demonic forces and those entities and beings that feed on our energy and hook in and all of this. Look how uncomfortable my sheer presence made that being. Now, obviously, if this girl has opened up through, manipulation to what she perceives to be the Holy Spirit, but is actually dealing with demonic forces, then in calling it the Holy Spirit, that's not necessarily going to be a small, insignificant demon. That's going to be a very powerful being that is invoked by that very specific religious following and is having direct dialogue with her 24/7, basically. And even then, look at how much one human, rattles that entity. So I just want to convey that, because while I'm not saying by any means or advocating go face off with these entities and beings, go look for trouble, right, and stare them down, I am saying that they do fear us. There's a space where they need to inflate and boast their energy and dark forces, and in her experience, manipulate her to thinking that I am that and I'm working with that. So she's in sheer fear and concerned that my utter presence is a threat to her well-being. It's even a threat to her beliefs in her Holy Spirit, right? And that's powerful. For me, it was really validating. Annoying, of course, though validating, because it sensed me from as soon as I got into that house, man. And it scanned the entire experience of my time there to find a way to give her a premonition-like understanding so that it could validate how it works with her, and that it knows, and also at the same time let me know that it's not comfortable and how it feels about me. And we had some words in astral space for sure. And I decided to play nice in a certain way, though it was made known. And I thought about letting it know through her, because another thing you can do, if this ever happens, when somebody's talking to you and they perceive that it's them or their opinion, but it's actually the entity or the demon or the being, you can talk directly to that entity. You can look dead in their eyes and address the entity. They might not understand what you're talking about, but the entity's gonna get it. And I thought about that, but I decided to opt out because I didn't want to impart any more fear into her, any more discomfort, right? Nor did I want to provoke more debate and arguments, because it's not worth it. I'm not interested by any means in being engaged in that. So anyway, that was my very eventful last week. I am just beyond amused with it. And I thought it very interesting. I hope everybody is doing great. And please subscribe, like, and share these videos. It helps me tremendously. Share them. I can't wait to communicate with you guys. Thanks for your patience. I know I haven't answered a lot of the messages recently, but something intriguing that I wanted to note is that several months ago, I had posted on the community board that hundreds of the messages I had responded to had been deleted. And then when I went in a couple days ago, the messages that had already been approved that responded to that post about them being deleted were then put back in my unpublished file. So that was interesting. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. I hope you're well. Bye.